What's going on with woke culture these days? It seems like it's everywhere, right?
You're helping Democrats.
I mean, listen, now we gotta talk because, now we gotta talk.
Get the fuck out of my face now!
You've got people debating it, calling it out, and even some of the original woke folks are fed up with how far it's gone. And guess who just jumped into the anti-woke movement?
Let me ask you, do you think that General Patton was woke? I don't think so. What do you think, Mike?
Yep, former President Donald Trump. Now that's a plot twist no one saw coming. When someone like Trump gets involved, you know this thing has really spiraled. So how did we even get here? Let's dive in. All right, so what exactly is woke? It's become this buzzword that everyone's throwing around, but do we even know what it means anymore?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
Yes, that's a woke person, as they call today. Like you had your eyes open to the injustices happening in the world, and you actually cared. Simple, right? But now, it feels like the meaning is completely flipped. Today, it's less about being aware and more about, well, policing every little thing. And guess what? Former President Donald Trump has jumped into the mix, and things are getting wilder by the day. Like everyone's fed up, including Donald Trump. Yep, the most controversial guy out there has joined the anti-woke movement, and honestly, no one saw that coming. But when someone like Trump steps in, you know the woke crowd has gone a little too far. It's like they've crossed all the lines. Let's be real for a second. Being woke was supposed to mean standing up for what's right. But these days, some folks take it to such extremes that you can't even say okay without offending someone. You could literally say, hey, nice shoes, and suddenly, someone's dragging you on social media for not being inclusive enough. Cancel culture anyone. Yeah, it's gotten to the point where you could get canceled for just breathing wrong. And speaking of canceled culture, this is where Trump really comes in hot. He's been quick to call out how crazy it's become. People are getting canceled left and right for the smallest things, and he's not having it. Remember when being woke meant fighting for real social justice? Now it's like a competition to see who can be the most woke. Say the wrong thing, you're done. Step out of line, boom, you're canceled. It's as if the woke police are everywhere waiting for someone to slip up so they can pounce. And the worst part? It feels like no one's safe anymore, not even celebrities or public figures. Well, as woke culture continues to rise and people keep getting canceled for the tiniest things, Trump is slowly positioning himself as the ultimate anti-woke hero. And let me tell you, things are only going to get crazier from here. Let's start with one of those classic Trump moments. You know, the kind where he's on live TV and things take an unexpected turn. He sat down for what's supposed to be a regular interview, but the reporter? Well, she clearly didn't get the memo. Instead of asking questions like a typical reporter, she decides to turn it into a full-on debate.
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Can you answer why you held on to the documents?
I was negotiating and we were talking to...
Awkward, right? Now, don't get me wrong, debates are fine if you're invited to one. But this wasn't that. This was supposed to be a quanda, and she seemed more focused on challenging him than getting any real answers. So next time you see an interview going off the rails, just remember, maybe it's best to stick to the script. Trump's war on woke has been making headlines everywhere. But the real question is, just how far is he willing to go? In true Trump fashion, he's not holding back. He literally said, actions speak louder than words, and he's living by it. He signed executive orders to cut funding for programs that promote woke ideology, banned diversity training in federal agencies, and hasn't shied away from criticizing the influence of woke culture. But of course, in today's world, there's no shortage of critics. Celebrities and talk show hosts, like Howard Stern, have gone full-on anti-Trump.
Can I ask you a question? With talking about the border, not just all the young military-age men that are coming across this country, the fentanyl that's coming across this country.
Terrible.
If you were in office, would you consider taking importation of fentanyl as a terrorist act, because if you count it under terrorism, then our Department of Defense can get involved. We give our law enforcement a break.
Correct. Well, and you can even go further than that.
Yeah, I mean, you could send pictures of their mansions to certain individuals in Mexico.
And when asked about the backlash, Trump had a pretty classic response. They can talk all they want. I'm doing what's right for the country. So here's what a Trump supporter had to say about the whole woke thing.
There's a lot of people talking out here about woke.
Yeah.
What does woke mean?
It means you're an idiot. I mean, that's what it is.
Absolutely.
So if anybody's an idiot, they're woke.
If you don't know whether you're a male or female, then I'm sorry, there's an issue.
And honestly, he's not entirely wrong. But let's not even get into the gender debate right now, because trust me, that's a rabbit hole we don't want to fall into.
I'm not going to call someone that's clearly a man, a woman, because it makes them feel better. They can do whatever they want, they can think whatever they want, but they're not going to bring me into their fantasies.
But have a look at this so-called woke person.
You can call yourself whatever you want.
Cis men don't menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Apparently men can menstruate now. What? Like, where are we living, guys? The world's flipped upside down. It's not enough that some people want their rainbow flags on everything. Now they want to replace the very idea of normalcy. At this point, you could identify as a bee or even a fairy. And guess what? Woke culture's got your back on that. No one is asking to discriminate against anyone here, but some folks are taking things way too far, trying to replace every bit of what we know as normal. It's just ridiculous. Look, being woke isn't a bad thing in itself. It's the people running around claiming they're woke with these out-of-touch perspectives that have twisted its meaning. It's not the word that's the problem. It's how people have hijacked it.
To me, it's like policies and in the schools and companies that are forcing people basically to just go along with the tide. When a lot of people don't even want it, but they're just doing it because they don't want to fight.
And you know what? Trump has clearly influenced people, including a small, sane portion of the younger generation. That, in itself, is kind of a relief. There are still some normal people out there who aren't fully wrapped up in this woke craziness. At this rate, finding normal folks might be a rare sight because these woke ideas are just pushing everything into chaos. It's the younger generation that's being targeted the most. Little kids who haven't even learned their ABCs yet are being dragged into this whole woke agenda like, come on, let them be kids. This woke stuff is filtering down, and before we know it, the world's headed straight into a big ol' flush. Trump's not letting this slide though. In fact, during his campaign in Pennsylvania, he showcased a video that sums it all up perfectly. He's not just talking about it, he's showing everyone what's going on. And honestly, it couldn't be clearer.
I believe she's worse than him. And we can't allow it to happen. Now, I had this done because, you know, our military is great. I knocked out ISIS. I knocked out ISIS. They said it would take 4 to 5 years. I did it in about a month, right? And we knocked them out. General Raisin Kane, this is a tough guy. Our military is great.
The fact that we even have to talk about these basic things is wild. Like, who could have predicted we'd see a day like this?
You little scumbag! I got your name! I got your ass! You will not laugh! You will not cry! You will learn by the numbers!
Happy Pride. Happy Pride Month, and actually, let's declare it a summer of pride.
So you're a killer? Sir, yes, sir! Let me see your war face! Sir, you got a war face? Ah! That's a war face! Now let me see your war face! Ah! Bullshit! You didn't convince me! Let me see your real war face! Ah!
I hear it and I know I know you wanna take.
You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war.
If our ancestors popped in for a visit, they'd be standing there scratching their heads wondering, what on earth is going on? And honestly, same. Trump officially announced he's going to protect children from this woke insanity. It's gotten to the point where kids are being brainwashed.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately.
They're confused about their genders before they even know what the word gender means. The world's gone completely off the rails. Can you imagine? Little kids are being forced into making decisions or even surgeries. It's absolutely mind-blowing. What's happening out here? Seriously, how did we get to this point? As soon as Trump expanded his anti-woke stance, things started shifting in universities, workplaces, everywhere. It's like the battle has officially been declared. It's no longer just talk, it's an all-out war against this woke madness. Take Oxford Union, for example. Konstantin Kisin stepped up and raised this exact issue, calling out the ridiculousness of woke culture.
And for 9 months, we talked about what our boy would look like, what he might do when he grows up. We looked at baby scans and videos on YouTube about what the fetus looks like at 9 months and 12 months and 20 months. And eventually he was born. And he is this cute little bundle of joy. He's cuter than about 80% of puppies, right? Now, if you said to me that I had a choice, either my son had a serious risk of starving or dying from a preventable disease in the next year, or I could press a button and he would live. He would go to school. He would bring his first girlfriend home. He'd go to university and graduate and become a woke idiot. And the only thing that wokeness has to offer in exchange is to brainwash bright young minds like you to believe that you are victims, to believe that you have no agency, to believe that what you must do to improve the world is to complain, is to protest, is to throw soup on paintings. And we on this side of the House are not on this side of the House because we do not wish to improve the world. We sit on this side of the House because we know that the way to improve the world is to work, is to create, it is to build. And the problem with woke culture is that it's trained too many young minds like yours to forget about that.
His remarks were a much-needed reality check, cutting through the noise and giving everyone a glimpse of just how off-track things have gotten. Woke culture started with good intentions, awareness, inclusion, empathy. But now, it's turned into this wild, delusional mess where people are just crossing every line, making everything a problem. Kisin's words hit hard because they highlight all the flaws. It's time to rethink how far this has all gone. So yeah, Trump's making moves, and the woke culture is on notice. Let me show you guys a clip. I can't even with what I'm about to show you. Honestly, this should be the official poster for Trump's presidential campaign. This woman deserves an award for the best unintentional Trump ad ever.
First, he promises that he will carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in history. He will also ask for the death sentence for anyone convicted of human trafficking. He will close the Department of Education and return all education standards to the states to decide. He will put prayer back into school, and he will criminalize any race-based advantage programs.
So she goes on this rant listing all the things Trump would do if he wins again. And she's clearly thinking she's exposing him. But the real kicker? She lists execution for human traffickers as a negative. Like, really? That's your angle? It's so disturbing, it almost makes you wonder if she even thought it through.
He will ban any federal dollars from going towards gender-affirming care, which means anyone with government-provided health care will no longer be able to access gender-affirming care except for Viagra and Cialis. Those will still be available. He will propose a constitutional amendment that gives a term limit to Congress. He will deploy the Department of Justice to investigate the Biden crime family and any of his adversaries or political rivals. He will immediately pardon all of the January 6thers, and he will create a task force to investigate anyone who arrested, charged, or imprisoned a January 6er. He will increase the penalties for underage criminal offenders, strengthen immunity for police officers, and deploy the National Guard to patrol woke cities. On day one, he will reassess our participation in NATO and says that every European country needs to pay the United States for protection.
She truly believed she was giving Trump the ultimate takedown, rallying her woke friends, trying to give everyone a reality check on how terrible his ideas were. But guess what? Instead, she unintentionally just gave him the best promo he could ask for.
He will kill all e-vehicles and e-vehicle legislation, seeking to replace that with the development of a flying car. He believes that we could create a car that vertically takes off. And he will take billions and billions of dollars from private university endowments by taxing, fining, and suing the universities. He specifically names Harvard in this one. And then he will use that money to create the American Academy. It is a free online college that will be free of wokeness that he will force employers to recognize as a bachelor's degree equivalent.
Now, thanks to her, more people are rooting for Trump than ever. People are watching this clip and thinking, wait, this sounds good, maybe I will vote for him. Even those who weren't planning on voting for him are reconsidering after hearing her so-called criticism. She thought she was going to bury him with that rant, but instead, she just lit up his campaign like a firework. Sometimes, you just can't make this stuff up. So, where do you stand in this wild Trump versus woke battle? Is the woke culture really out of control? Or is Trump just stirring the pot? One thing's for sure, this fight is far from over. Share your thoughts in the comments section below and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching!